Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Before we get into today's mystery, do the podcast a solid. Hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and tell a friend who loves weird history. That 5-star rating genuinely helps the show grow, and it helps new listeners find us.
And if you leave a review, just know somewhere out there, an algorithm smiles, a little bell rings, and Chuck gets to feel morally superior for like 12 seconds.
It's the little things. Also, quick reminder, all our episodes are evergreen. You can binge this one in 6 months, in 6 years, during a power outage, during a zombie apocalypse, still relevant.
Especially during the zombie apocalypse. Because if you hear a low rumble at night, you're going to want to know if it's a zombie. Or, the Taos Hum. And be sure to stay tuned after the episode for the original song, Beneath the Silent Sky.
Perfect segue. Today we're heading to northern New Mexico, Taos. Beautiful high desert, big sky, art colony vibes, adobe buildings, mountains in the background. The kind of place where you go to find yourself.
Or lose yourself. Or find a handmade scarf that costs more than your car payment.
And for some people, it's also the kind of place where you hear a hum, a low-frequency droning sound, like a distant diesel engine idling somewhere beyond the horizon. Except you can't find it. You can't point to it. And the weirdest part?
Not everyone hears it.
Exactly. In the early 1990s, people in and around Taos started reporting this persistent, annoying, sometimes maddening hum. It was often worse at night, sometimes worse indoors. It could keep people awake. It could make them feel on edge, like their body is reacting before their brain can even make sense of it.
So basically, it's like living next to a neighbor who practices bass guitar at 2 a.m., but the neighbor is the atmosphere.
Yes, and your other neighbor is like, what bass guitar? Because they hear nothing. That's what made the Taos Hum famous. It wasn't just a noise complaint. It was a noise complaint that split reality in half.
And anytime you split reality in half, you get one group saying this is happening, and another group saying, no, it isn't, and a third group saying, it's aliens.
Always aliens. But let's slow down and set the scene historically. Taos isn't just a random town where a weird sound popped up. It's a place layered with history, indigenous communities, Spanish colonial influence, U.S. expansion, artists, writers, off-grid types, spiritual seekers. It's kind of a magnet for people who pay attention to subtle things.
You're saying the hum picked the perfect audience.
I'm saying if a hum wanted to be discovered, Taos is a good place to start. But what made this more than local folklore is that it reached a critical mass. Enough people complained that investigators took it seriously.
Which honestly is rare. Because most of the time, if you tell someone, I hear a mysterious hum at night, they hand you earplugs and a pamphlet about stress.
Right? But in Taos, a real investigation happened. Engineers and scientists went out, talked to residents, tried to measure sound, and tried to match people's reports to something physical in the environment.
Okay, so question 1. What exactly were people hearing? Because hum is vague. My fridge hums. My soul hums when I forget to pay my taxes.
People described it in a lot of ways. A low droning, a rumble, a vibration you feel more than you hear. Some said it sounded like a truck engine far away. Others said it felt like pressure, like the world had a subwoofer hidden under the floor.
Like the planet is playing one note, and only some people got invited to the concert.
That's the thing. Reports suggested only a small percentage of people could hear it. Not half the town, not even a quarter, more like a sliver. Which raises a huge question. If it's a real sound, why isn't everyone hearing it?
Maybe it's like cilantro. Some people taste soap, some people taste freshness, some people taste betrayal.
That's actually not a bad analogy. Human perception varies a lot. But let's stay grounded. Investigators brought in microphones, including equipment designed to capture low-frequency sound, and they also monitored vibrations.
And
they didn't find a single obvious smoking gun. No definitive recorded Taos Hum signal that matched what people were reporting.
so the microphones were like, I'm not hearing it. And the residents were like, cool, but I am losing my mind, so now what?
Exactly. Which is where this gets historically interesting, because the Taos Hum sits right at the crossroads of modern life. Our built environment, our bodies, our brains, and our relationship with noise.
And the fact that the human brain is basically a conspiracy theory machine with a pulse.
Let's talk theories. First big category, something mechanical or industrial. Fans, compressors, pumps, power equipment. The sort of thing that can produce a low-frequency tone that travels, reflects, and resonates.
Which makes sense. We have so many machines humming around us, we don't even notice until it's quiet. Then suddenly, you hear your house like it's a spaceship.
And low-frequency sound can be sneaky. It can carry farther than higher frequencies, and it can behave strangely with temperature layers and wind. Nighttime conditions can change how sound travels. So the fact that many people said it was worse at night is suggestive.
Or it's suggestive that nighttime is when we stop distracting ourselves and finally notice the tiny horrors.
Also possible. Another category, geology. Some people wondered if the landscape itself could be creating a low-frequency phenomenon, wind interacting with terrain, distant natural vibrations, that sort of thing.
So like the mountains are singing?
More like droning. If the mountains are singing, they're doing minimalist experimental music.
So Taos is basically a living art installation. That tracks.
Then there's the category that makes people uncomfortable, that the hum might be, for many hearers, internal. Not imaginary, in the you're making it up way, more like a real perception generated by the body's auditory system.
Like tinnitus?
Related idea, yes. Tinnitus is often described as ringing, but it can also be buzzing, humming, or low tones. There's also a concept called otoacoustic emissions, where the ear can generate faint tones. Most people never notice anything like that, but in very quiet conditions, or with certain sensitivities, some people might.
So you're telling me my ears might be doing their own podcast?
Possibly. And they're not even leaving a 5-star review.
Rude.
But here's where we have to be careful. The Taos Hum is part of a larger worldwide pattern. Different places have reported similar low-frequency hums. Sometimes investigators do eventually find a source, like a specific industrial facility or a piece of equipment. Other times, they don't.
So it might be one big phenomenon, or it might be a bunch of different phenomena that all feel the same to the people experiencing them.
That's the modern historian's nightmare and delight. One name, many causes. The label Taos Hum becomes a cultural object. It's a story people share, a community experience, even though only a minority actually hears it.
Which adds a whole extra layer. Once a place becomes famous for a hum, people might start paying attention, listening harder, interpreting normal background stuff as the thing.
Right? There's a feedback loop. A rumor can change perception. A famous mystery can recruit new witnesses. Not because people are lying, because attention changes what your brain prioritizes.
And your brain is basically a bouncer, deciding which sounds get into the club.
Exactly. And for the hearers, it's not a party. It can be distressing. Some people reported headaches, insomnia, anxiety, because persistent noise can grind you down.
Sleep deprivation turns even normal life into a horror movie. So if you've got a relentless hum, you're not just annoyed, you're running on fumes.
Which is why the human side matters. When we talk about mysteries like this, it's easy to turn it into spooky campfire entertainment. But for the people who experienced it, it was a quality of life issue.
So what did the investigators actually do, besides rolling in with microphones and vibes?
They surveyed residents. They tried to identify patterns, when the hum is heard, where, and by whom. They set up instrumentation in some homes. They checked for obvious culprits, power lines, appliances, industrial sources. And the big headline was, no single external source was confirmed as the hum.
Which, if you're the listener who hears it every night, feels like being told, good news, we can't find your problem.
Exactly. And that ambiguous result is why the Taos Hum lives on. A solved mystery fades. An unsolved mystery becomes folklore with a filing cabinet.
I want that on a t-shirt. Folklore with a filing cabinet.
Speaking of which, yes, we have new merchandise. There's a link in the show notes. Wear the mystery. Become the mystery.
Please do not become the mystery in a way that requires search parties. Just buy the hoodie.
Now, culturally, the Taos Hum also lands in a time period where Americans were increasingly tuned into environmental concerns and also increasingly saturated with technology. The early 1990s were not the Stone Age. People had machinery, power grids, industrial infrastructure, but not the kind of personal sensors we have now.
Right. Today someone would be like, I hear a hum, and 5 minutes later there's a subreddit, 3 phone apps, a homemade spectrogram, and a guy named BaseSlayer69 blaming it on government mind control.
And yet, even now, these things can be hard to pin down. Low frequencies are tricky, human perception is tricky, and the environment is a chaotic system. Add them together and you get a mystery that can survive decades.
So what's your personal verdict? Team External Machine? Team Ear Podcast? Team Aliens?
If you put me in the historian chair, I say the most likely answer is plural. In some cases, there's probably a real external low-frequency source, mechanical, industrial, infrastructure, that only some people notice because of hearing sensitivity, home acoustics, or just the way sound pools in certain places. In other cases, it's likely internal auditory phenomena that become more noticeable under stress or in quiet conditions.
So the hum is a mashup.
A remix. And Taos became the name-brand version of it because the story hit at the right time, in the right place, with the right weirdness.
Taos, where the art is expensive, the sky is enormous, and the ambient soundtrack may or may not exist.
And that's kind of the key lesson. History isn't only wars and presidents and treaties. It's also the lived experience of people dealing with something they can't explain, trying to convince their neighbors that something real is happening, and trying to get institutions to take them seriously.
It's the history of, no, I swear I hear it, and the other person going, have you tried turning yourself off and back on again?
And whether the Taos hum is a physical sound, a perceptual effect, or a blend, it tells us something about the era we live in. We're surrounded by invisible systems, electricity, infrastructure, vibration, information, and sometimes our bodies pick up signals we don't have neat categories for.
So the hum is like a reminder that reality has bass notes.
That is annoyingly poetic.
Thank you. I contain multitudes. Some of them are low frequency.
If you're listening and you've ever experienced something like this, Taos or anywhere else, we want to hear from you. You can suggest topics and share your story with us via social media. We read them, we save them, and we absolutely lovingly curate ideas for future episodes.
And because all our episodes are evergreen, if you're hearing this later, the invitation still stands. Mystery doesn't expire.
And neither does the request. Please rate the show, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. It really helps the podcast grow, and it helps other listeners find us.
Also, share the episode with one person who loves a good mystery, and one person who thinks that they hate mysteries, especially that second person. Convert them.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. Special thanks to all our listeners, old, new, and the ones who only listen at night when the world is quiet and the hum has a chance to sneak in.
Sleep well, everyone. And if you hear a distant diesel engine, but there's no diesel engine, maybe it's the Taos hum, or maybe your fridge is plotting something.
See you next time.
Out past the dust where the mesa sleeps, under wide skies no one really keeps. There's a sound that hums where the silence should be, like the earth forgot its own melody. Windows shake but the wind stands still. No passing train, no factory hill, just a low, slow ghost in the air at night, buzzing soft where there's no light. You lean in close, but it pulls away, like it knows what you might say. Hear that hum in the desert night. No wires, no source, no wrong, no right. It gets in your bones, won't let you go, like a secret only silence knows. They say it's nothing, just in your head, but it follows you straight into bed. Out in the dark where the answers are none, you're never alone with the Taos hum. Old folks swear it's been there for years, stories passed down quiet like hidden fears. Some say deep in the ground it wakes, others blame it on human mistakes. Scientists came with the charts and wires, measured the air, the ground, the fires, left with nothing but empty hands and a question no one understands. It fades away when you chase it down, but it's louder when no one's around. Hear that hum in the desert night. No wires, no source, no wrong, no right. It gets in your bones, won't let you go. Like a secret only silence knows. They say it's nothing, just in your head, but it follows you straight into bed. Out in the dark where the answers are numb, you're never alone with the Taos Hum. Is it the earth just trying to speak, or something buried too deep to keep? Is it the past or something to come on? Just the echo of everyone. Close your eyes, let it pull you in. Feel it under your skin again. Not loud enough to run away, but strong enough to make you stay. Low, low, don't you hear it call? No escape, no sound at all. Just a whisper turned to a drum beating slow, like the desert's heart hum. Hear that?